Hi, Kamal. Welcome to the Banking Show. This week, in your column, you have said that the central theme of this year would be to fight inflation for growth. Can you elaborate a little what this means in terms of RBI's policies and overall for the banking sector?
Yeah, thanks, Ruchika. I think it's a classic situation where we miss the woods for the trees. So not everybody, I am correcting myself. There are certain quarters feel that, well, we have been able to contain inflation. Now it's the time for a rate cut. That's not the case. If you look at the numbers, it's 4 years now. We are away from the central target for inflation, which is 4%. So 4% plus minus 2 percentage point on either side. That's the overall target. But 4% is the central target. Where are we? So this more than 4% inflation for the past 4 years, you look at how it has been eroding the power of consumers, the purchasing power. And of course, if we allow to continue, there is some point it will affect growth. So I think in the entire growth inflation dynamics, inflation is a bigger evil, and fortunately, Reserve Bank of India is fully aware of this, which is why Governor Das has kept on saying from different platforms in the past few months, the fight against inflation is not over. So my column this week is, of course, it is the 1st January column, so it's on the central theme of the new year, that's calendar year 2024. And I firmly believe that the central theme will be fight against inflation. It will continue till the inflation genie is bottled within 4%.
So what does it mean for a rate cut? How long do we have to wait?
Well, rate cuts, actually, there are a few movable things we need to take into account. Now, let's presume that geopolitical situations remain as it is now. Commodity prices, etc. That's a separate issue. I'm not getting into that. But the two key elements which will actually create the situation for a rate cut is, of course, the inflation, which is as I said, 4 years above the target. It needs to come down to 4% and quote unquote on a durable basis. So just 1 month it comes down to 4% or close to 4%, and that will prompt Reserve Bank of India for a rate cut. I would not think so. So you need inflation at or around 4% on a sustainable basis for a few months. And second part is this: what's U.S. Federal Reserve is going to do. Now the belief is it would happen during springtime, and Fed can go as many as 3 rate cuts, 25 bips each, 70 basis point. So I would like to believe, as and when the first rate cut happens by US Federal Reserve, Reserve Bank of India will probably first change the stance from accommodative to neutral, and we'll keep an eye and fighting against inflation. The fight will continue, and then the rate cut will happen at the next stage. So I would rule it out in the first half. Elections also, general elections around, I think it would happen in the first half. Again, some analysts believe that this is going to happen before elections. I don't think so, because election, in every election, central election, inflation is a big issue. So Reserve Bank of India would not allow people talk about it, that it's for the political masters. The central bank is cutting rate to keep people happy ahead of election. It is not going to happen. It will continue to fight inflation. And as I said, if everything go the way we are thinking they should, in the second half of the calendar year, we may see the first rate cut.
Eyes will be on RBI and US Fed's rate policies as well. Tamal, inflation and interest rates aside, what are some of the micro issues that will play out for the banking sector this year?
Well, I will pick up only two. One is the bank's fight for deposits. Okay, we have seen that it's about 2 years now, the kind of deposit rates the banks are offering. Senior citizens are getting, in some cases, 9% or even more. Certainly 8 and 8.5% for most of the banks. So this fight is continuing. And if you see in calendar year, again, credit growth is much higher than the deposit growth, even though the base is different, but credit base is much smaller than the deposit base. But still, the kind of credit growth is happening. It's not sustainable unless the banks gather deposits, because some of the banks have been supporting this from their capital. It will not continue for long. So the fight for inflation, fight for deposits will continue. Banks will continue to offer higher rates, and if those banks which will not be able to garner enough deposits, their credit growth will slow down, which means at the macro level for the industry also, I don't think the current credit growth is sustainable. That's the same side, the two sides of the same coin. And the second part of this is this: I think the bad loans or the NPAs, which is now, I think the net NPA is not decadal, it's all-time low historically. From the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. So it would be difficult to continue with this kind of trend, because the Bank of India is fully aware of that. In certain quarters, particularly retail segment and personal loan, etc., there is some kind of cracks are happening. We will see that banks are recognizing them and banks are making provision appropriately. So the two key themes, I would say, fight for deposit will continue, and as a part of that, credit growth will slow down or may slow down. And second part of this, the banking sector health will continue to be robust and resilient, but for certain banks, we will see a bad loan as a percentage of credit growth.
Yes, Tamal, indeed, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, in a review meeting that she took on 30th of December with the PSB banks, had raised some of these issues as well, and also issues of cybersecurity and onboarding of stressed accounts as well. Very important points there, Tamal, about inflation targets, how we're far from it, and the interest rate cut, and that it is only going to happen in the second half of this year and not likely in the first half. Well, we'll be obviously talking to you all through that time. Thank you so much, Tamal, for joining us today and sharing your insights.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.
I am the blue of the limitless sky. I am the inspiration that led success soar high. I will achieve, I will fly high. I am the I in SBI.
I'm backed by the nation's trusted bank, SBI, the banker to every Indian.